Hello everyone, today in this video we'll be having a discussion of the editorial page of today's newspaper. Today is 25th of November 2020. The first article is regarding the corporate houses in Indian banking sector. So this was some of the analysts written. This article focused upon what could be the consequences if corporate houses are into Indian banking system. The banking sector needs some reforms, but the recommendation of the corporate-owned banks is neither a big bank or a risk-free. This is what the author finds in this article, and some of the views written by the author we will be discussing in this video. The author of this article is Ram Mohan, who is a professor of IIM Ahmedabad. So what he wants, or what his intention of these corporate houses in Indian banking just says that the idea to allow the corporate houses into banking is means like a novel. So in February 2013, the RBI has issued some of the guidelines permitted to the corporate and industrial houses as well, and some houses applied. Subsequently, no corporate was untimely given the bank license. So in 2013 also this agenda was brought into picture, but they doesn't have any license, but government did not give any license. This was earlier discussed, and also earlier there was also the plan, but government rejected their offer. So only two entities qualified for the license. The first is IDFC and the second is Bandhan Financial Services. Again, the RBI maintained that it was open to letting into corporates. And the IWG report, which quotes the official, that at the time when there is a public concern about the governance, and when it comes to the license for entities that are untimely trusted by the Indian public, and also there is some worry in regarding the IWC or IWG reports, and also RBI what actually said regarding the license to corporate houses. In 2014 also, RBI had restored the long-standing provision for the entry of corporate houses in banking. So RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan, the former governor, and also headed by the Committee of Financial Sector in 2008, it said that it had not observed that the committee also believes it's premature to allow the industrial houses to its own banks. So this prohibition on the banking and commerce combined still exists in United States today, and is certainly necessary in India till private governance and regulatory capacity to improve. Again, the worry is the risk. So what would be the rationale for any reversal in this position now? So the internal working group report weighs the pros and cons of letting the corporate houses again will bring the capital and expertise to banking. The first pros what the author finds is there could be a huge capital and also expertise to banking sector. Moreover, many jurisdictions world bar corporate houses from the banking. It is the downside risk that are worrying in the extreme. As important notes, the main concerns are interconnected lending to concentration of economic power and exposure of the safety net provided by other banks as well. So it is worthy to elaborate other risks also. So the corporate houses can easily turn bank into the sources of funds, and also some of the sectors which is directly the corners of the private entities, and that could lead to some of the monopolies. So just as the politicians have used the banks to further their political interests, so will also the corporate houses to be tempted to use banks set up by them to enhance their own clout, means their own interests. The author wants here is there is a worry if they can use this money which will be in the banks, if the entity or the organizing or the governing institute is a private, they can use it for their own beneficial rather than the public beneficial, the author says in this article. So at least the banks owned by the corporate houses will be exposed to the risks of non-bank entities of the group. If non-bank entities get into trouble, sentiment about the bank owned by the corporate house is bound to be impacted. Again, the depositors may have been rescued through the use of public safety as well. So the internal working group believes that before corporate houses are allowed to enter banking, the RBI must be equipped with a legal framework to deal with the interconnected lending and mechanism to effectively supervise the these kind of issues, and also there should be adequate deal in the risks of interconnected lending of Indian context. So the corporate houses adapt at the routing fund through a maze and entities in the India and also abroad. So this is what the author finds. There will be some of the risks which will be acquired, and certain things which should be perfectly legalized, and there should be some protocols should be given by the RBI, what author says, and some of the regulatory and credibility at stake. The fourth point is that there should be again powerful corporate houses could end up in damaging the regulatory. So the regulatory would be under the enormous pressure to compromise on the regulations. Its credibility would be dented in the process. So this would be indeed a tragedy given in the stature of RBI which enjoys today. So what the author says is that if the entry of corporate houses do not have any interest in financial sector, there are corporate houses that are already present in banking related activities through non-banking finance companies, NBFCs. So under this present policy, NBFCs with a successful track record of around greater than 10 years should be allowed to convert them into banks rather than bringing a new corporate sectors. So the author finds is that if we bring the NBFC, which is already successful, into the corporate world of banking, that would be some of the credibility into the regulatory, what he says. So the point, there is another aspect of the proposal that it cannot be ignored, is that corporate houses are unlikely to be enthusiastic merely by idea of growing a bank in their own. So the public reaction or the tracking of the possibility and acquiring public sector banks and the entry of corporate houses, if it fails, and likely to be moved by the government as a privatization. So what we know of the government in Indian corporate world, any sale of public sector bank to a corporate house would raise a serious concern about the financial stability. So Indian banking sector needs from the corporate houses owning banks hardly qualifies as one. If the record of over leveraging in the corporate world in recent years is anything go by, the entry of the corporate houses in the banking is road to perdition. So this is what the author finds, is that there are some pros, but the major point is if the stake is sold or to private entity, there will be a financial instability which creates a kind of the only monopoly, what author finds. And say no to corporate houses, it's a final conclusion given by the author regarding the Indian banking sector and corporate houses into Indian banking sector. This is what regarding the first article of the Hindu editorial page, and second article is on the migrant workers as a ghost among the citizens. A new publication contains that their lockdown mystery was no anomaly but an effort of exclusion from full citizenship. So this article just focus upon about the citizenship regarding the migrant workers, because they work in one place and to travel it in another place. So what finds is that the quarantine with home and also some of the bridging social distancing, and the Prime Minister has announced some of the world's most stringent lockdown, as we all know that in March 24, 2020, which barely have few hours to notice, and this had occurred, and there we have already seen there are a lot of consequences regarding the lockdown, and also some of the things which we have more quarantine at home, and also most of the migrant workers unable to fulfill their livelihood has passed, and some of them had walked there from bare feet to their homes, and some of them have lost their lives, and most of them are suffering still now, and this is among the ghosts among the citizens, what author finds in this article. This is regarding the article discussion of today's paper, and the other article is India and Pakistan diplomatic offense. What author says in this article is India did well to highlight the terror threat from Pakistan amid steps along the border. So with more details coming from the planned terror strike in Jammu and Kashmir by 4 men believed to be the members of Pakistani Jaish-e-Mohammed. So this is regarding the encounter which was happened in the last week, who were gunned down by security forces last week, and discovered that they took a tunnel in the Samba sector where the men are supposed to have infiltrated into India, and government had decided to set up a diplomatic campaign to hold the Pakistan to be accountable for this. So this is regarding the article of diplomatic offensive, where they need to talk between the diplomats meeting in India and Pakistan. The next article is dangerous suggestion regarding the industrial houses should have access. The same is the article which we have discussed right now. Industrial houses do not have access or household savings on their own banks. We have already discussed regarding the corporate field sectors which are entering into the banking sector. Daring to love beyond the societal limits. This is regarding the love jihad, which has built some of the tiresome rhetoric which is in commonplace and caste-dominating society. So love jihad has slipped effortlessly into the public vocabulary as if it were a social tourism. So the term is often taken to refer a deliberate campaign that used love seduction, tricky and convert a Hindu Christian woman to Islam. It claimed that money and planning are invested in such venture, with Muslim youth being groomed, provided with mobile phones, dark glasses and a pair of jeans to be attractive to be Hindu women. Once caught, it is alleged that Hindu women end up in converting to Islam and marrying Muslim men. This is regarding the love jihad which was in use in recent times. Love in the time of Hindutva. It is not for the state to decide which relation are acceptable and permissible. So this article is basically the bill passed by the Uttar Pradesh government. What author finds is that it is not the state to decide the relationship to which whom he should bond with, which should be acceptable and permissible, and it is not about the government, it's about their own hearts. The author says that love jihad is back. It never nearly really goes away, but resurfaces, and also after some of the things which was happened in Uttar Pradesh. This is regarding the time of Hindutva and some of the rhetoric and shame and pity what author says regarding some of the previous discussions as well, referring to some of the previous discussions. And what author says is that when there are laws broad in scope or may be irrelevant in the individual courts for an individual judges, but constitutionally it is still not a state mandate to decide which relations are acceptable and permissible, transforming the reality may be well at the end game. So this is what author finds against the what love jihad is all about, and she says that it's up to their own relationship but not about the government. So that is what author finds in this article. That's the end of article discussion. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.